I'm here with Kyle Wilson, the AVP of Digital Experience at Space Coast Credit Union. Thanks for coming and chat with us a little bit today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so I think it'd be best just for us to talk a little bit about Nextly. Can you just share a little bit about what that experience was for you, kind of actually with the implementation of Nextly?
Yeah, so the implementation went very well just from the overall perspective of we were trying to accomplish a lot and do obviously a complete conversion in the situation. So when we made this leap for us as an organization, we had been on our previous product for about a decade. So just overall, there were a lot of pieces that were very much ingrained with how we do things, how we look at the world, how our members look at it. And we didn't want to go ahead and rock the boat too much with our members, but we wanted to move them over to something that provided value, had a little bit of familiarity so it didn't feel so earth-shattering, and do it as gradual as with as little disruption as possible. So when we did that, I think we did a great job of capturing the requirements overall as a group. So I think we had multiple sessions there, probably a month or so, where we went through and just kind of refined internally, and then with you guys as a team, dug through all the different integrations, all the different settings we use, what our members rely on. We kind of just started taking a deep dive into the data, what's real and what's not, and kind of try to cut the fat off. Said the things that we didn't like, try to remove those and get rid of friction points that we were aware of and start moving towards a more streamlined product, if you will. I think just overall, the collaboration between the two teams of going through those requirements and pulling those together, figuring out what we needed and what we didn't need, and then trying to maintain a comfortable product for our members. So we weren't, hey, this is all brand new, everything's completely different, and putting people off. It worked out very well. We also, I think, benefited by the collaboration on doing a phased rollout. And that's something we had never done before. It's not something I think is very common in the marketplace to begin with. The Big Bang idea is something that I think we're all familiar with. That's the tried and true way people have done it for years and years and years. But I think there's some value in that statement of just because we've always done it this way doesn't mean it's how we should. So getting into that was probably the most groundbreaking piece for us, was realizing we didn't have to disrupt the Apple Card as a whole in one go. And we had talked about it as an organization, but just finding a partner who would help facilitate that and make it work. And I think you guys were absolutely pro, hey, let's do it. It's not the normal way. Let's do it the right way though. And that's what we did. And so I think coming up with that, it was very nice to have the support of the Nextly team. Everybody was very willing to get in on things and be collaborative. I think your team was very dedicated with that. And I think just that's one of the big things that comes away from me personally is we spent hours and hours and hours and hours and hours on phone calls and meetings and going over documents and pushing things back and forth and just making sure we got things right, but also making sure that we tried to keep things from running away from us and getting scope creep. We set some pretty hard deadlines and we made them, but I know we had to really kind of get in the lab a few times and break down how we do it. And with that gradual update, figuring out how do we manage two apps and coming up with our options and how we were going to go ahead and move people off an app that really development had stalled for us. It was a slower process where we were at. Our previous product was just one that it was going to take a long time to do anything at the pace we wanted to do in conjunction with Nextly. So just solutioning just from really one side was one of those hurdles that we had to get over. And I think the CNXN team as a whole was very supportive of that and understood that. And so when we said, hey, this is a shortcoming of the product we're at right now, we want to go ahead and do X, Y, and Z, you guys were willing to help us make that happen. And I think that was a big deal for us to make it work. The concerns with putting both of those apps out there at the same time, working through that and coming up with a way to get people to go to those new apps was a lot harder than coming up with a way to get people to go to a new website.
Sure.
So, yeah, I think that's the big things that I take away from the conversion is, if you had to just pick a few words that kind of apply to how that went, I think there was a lot of collaboration. I think your team has a lot of dedication as a group. You guys were always willing to extend hours, make things work, hop on a call. If something wasn't right, we could do a smaller meeting of the project managers and leadership and just kind of, right the ship if there was confusion anywhere. And I think that it was just overall looking forward and putting the members first was the shared goal. And that was a big deal to me.
Love it. So even looking forward, so that was kind of the implementation of the journey to this point, right? We're at past our year mark. So it's an exciting milestone. Yeah. You talked a little bit about just the collaboration with the team and kind of that ongoing support. You obviously have a long background in history in digital banking. Yep. What kind of excites you the most moving forward with Nextly digital banking?
I think how nimble the product is and how responsive the team is. That has been such a huge shift from how we did business previously. And I'm going to kind of play off the current end of the future.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
I see the current as a picture where the future is headed. we're still working through some backlog things because, you and I are both aware we said, hey, here's a line in the sand, avoid the scope creep. Let's say certain things are not critical. We'll just take care of them later on. And there's other things that have come into play that are requests for, hey, how can we polish the product to handle an audit issue or a new requirement here or there. So we've had some things that have kind of picked up steam and pulled in front of some of our priorities. But overall, I think the fact that we're able to do things in the way we do it right now with we have those 2 short sprints and we do a deployment, we're able to rapidly move out stuff. We're able to be a lot more reactive. And I think where I see Nextly going for us as an organization is a constantly evolving product rather than big changes. It's a fundamental change from what we used to do. So our previous pattern was we would do 1 big update a year, maybe a couple smaller updates. But realistically, you'd set a line in the sand and say, this is when we're going to go ahead and flip over to a new user interface or where we're going to go ahead and deploy 2 or 3 major functionality pieces. And it was development and testing and everything else. It took, a quarter or 2 to just get all that stuff done. So you were really always just planning your next year and working towards a single point. Maybe there's a couple other things that you do in the middle of the year that complement that. But if the new projects or a new idea came out and you were like, oh, that's great. If it missed the boat, it had to wait. And I think that was one of the frustration points for us as an organization is we didn't have that ability to move and rapidly adjust in an environment that is realistically. So we weren't able to move at the pace the environment dictated with our previous product. We were hamstrung by that. I think getting in with Nextly, that's what excites me is scalability, responsiveness. We can say, hey, we want to do this and have extra resources just pop in and help out. Team members are also collaborative. We've got such a good knowledge transfer between the 2 teams that it really feels like one team a lot of the time. So we get on there and we can go ahead and map these things out and keep it moving. So I think it's that evolution, that constant evolution is what excites me the most, is this product doesn't have to be a phased product. It's really just a constantly growing, constantly polished product.
Love it. Yeah. Do you have any advice for anybody that would be in your shoes at another credit union that might be looking for a digital transformation or just a conversion of some sort?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing with this is look at what you want and what you're trying to achieve. And when you start to stack the different products up against each other, figure out what's going to support your approach best. Because I think when you get down to it, the majority of institutions want more control than they let on. And, there's a lot of managed products and there's a lot of different things, but those change over time with how responsive those managed resources are. We've been working with the CNextGen team for a while now on multiple products, and we've never seen that fluctuate. Like the commitment to providing the resources when necessary, the ability, like I said previously, to scale has been huge. So looking at the product from the side of what you need, but then also looking at the partner you're choosing and how they interact. I think if you ask the different partners and you get those conversations going with like customers, or customers feels like it's the wrong word, but existing partners, I think that's a huge deal. And one of the great things that came away from Engage for me was when we were there, you hear a lot of the same thoughts from everybody. It doesn't really matter what product you're on with the CNextGen team. There's that constant engagement. There's that desire to make things work the way that the credit union wants it to work. And it's not that big organization feel where you're just getting an out-of-the-box product that takes months to go ahead and change to what you want, or you have to add your stuff to a roadmap and hope that roadmap gets fulfilled. Our roadmap is our roadmap, and working with your team, there's never been pushback about where we want to go with the product.
Love it. So, you had the opportunity to come to our CNextGen Engage conference this past year. Would you recommend that to anybody else that's looking for it? What did you like the most about it? Can you just share a little bit about your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely recommend going to Engage. I thought it was a good opportunity to network, to meet peers, other partners with the CNextGen team. There was a lot of information we were able to exchange with those partners and have those conversations, both from the side of providing that information to other people who were looking at, hey, a digital banking transformation potentially. Then, I'm selfishly talking about that because that's my focus, but also to looking how to solve our problems. Because a lot of our peers in that membership or, that partnership group have already encountered some of the items that we're running into and have found a way to go ahead and work through it. So it was really nice to have that collaborative approach, that open discussion, and be able to meet both with the CNextGen team and those partners and have that dialogue. I think was great. I thought the presentations were meaningful and they provided a lot of value to the people who were there. For myself, I really enjoyed it. Selfishly, I enjoyed ours the best. So But yeah, overall, I'd recommend people go. I think it's a great opportunity to meet your other people who are working with CU Next Gen and talk through the different product offerings and see where you can go ahead and improve your stance.
Love it.
Yep.
Okay. Appreciate yours.